Yeah, you're good.
All right, so we are presenting for Mexico. This presentation was put together by all the members in our group. I'm Tyler LeBaron, and this is Kelton Jenkins, and we're going to be the presenters today, just explaining to you a little bit about what our group has put together in these slides.
So the major cultural considerations. So as you can see, these in the bar graph, the numbers are all over the place, but this bar graph shows two countries and their Hofstede dimensions, which allows us to compare two country business cultures. We will be comparing Mexico and the United States business culture. There might arise some problems in master of disparity, which means a great difference. As you can see from the chart, masculinity and long-term orientation have similar scores in both countries, so these two should not cause problems for us. Even though indulgence and uncertainty avoidance have larger number differences, it shouldn't cause problems because according to Hofstede numbers, around 50 or above mean they have a neutral feeling. The areas we need to be concerned about are power distance and individualism. Seeing these scores, people in Mexico expect to be negotiable while the United States is not. Also to do with individualism, Mexico is considered a collectivistic society, which means they work together in groups and everyone takes responsibility for what happens in the groups. Mexico also has a we attitude. The United States, however, has an I attitude. They are individualistic who primarily care for themselves. We should plan to try and work together with the United States and get everyone to think with more of a we attitude.
All right, so we'll talk a little bit about government and politics, as you can see here. On July 1st, 2018, Mexico once again held its presidential election, and Andres Manuel Lopez Obrador has now become the president of the United States of Mexico. He's been the president for about 6 years. There's 28 seats in the Senate that were open for election, and the voting for this also took place in July. For the Senate, they're selected to serve 6-year terms, and they come from various political parties in the country. The biggest political event that is the most impact on doing business in Mexico stems from the United States and President Donald Trump when he introduced the new NAFTA, and that puts all sorts of rules on the exports in Mexico and Canada. And these rules have little impact on the country itself, but this new deal forces companies in Mexico to increase their workers' wages, which is a little different for them. And it also requires them to have more production of automobiles and various parts in North America, and more taxes if Mexican exports to the United States exceed 2.6 million vehicles. Also, potential for more tariffs to be announced through this NAFTA, and trade deals to be altered again. This could either help or hurt businesses across North America. President Obrador, however, was in line with the deal, and he's excited to see where it can take Mexico and their economy.
The communication or negotiation tactics for Mexico uses indirect feedback, which means one wouldn't have to point out directly what is wrong. They're a lot more vague about their feedback and expect the receiver to fill in the blanks of what is meant by the feedback. Mexico mainly does business with people they know. They find friends or family members and a lot of the time do negotiations this way. Mexico's negotiations are very lengthy and involve haggling, which means they dispute or bargain persistently, especially over the cost of something. Mexico also has a high level of management because they are very status oriented.
So the trades in World Trade Organization, according to export.gov, a website ran by the U.S. Department of Commerce's International Trade Administration, under NAFTA, there are virtually no tariff barriers for U.S. exports to Mexico, with some exceptions as noted elsewhere. On June 5th, 2018, the Mexican government responded to the imposition of tariffs on the import of certain Mexican steel and aluminum products into the United States by suspending preferential tariff treatment and raising the general import tax rate of various goods originating from the United States. The Mexican government indicated that these tariffs will be valid until it determines that the United States has stopped applying the tariffs on steel and aluminum products originating from Mexico. The meaning of MFN for a World Trade Organization nation is what is known as most favored nation, according to Investopedia. A most favored nation clause requires a country to provide any concessions, privileges, or immunities granted in a trade agreement to one nation to all other World Trade Organization members countries. Although its name implies favoritism toward another nation, it denotes the equal treatment of all countries. Mexico has over 10 FTAs with over 45 countries and various trade agreements with those countries. The number one FTA Mexico is involved with is the NAFTA. This agreement makes the most sense to the country since it is in obviously extremely close proximity with Canada and the United States. This trade agreement allows for easy access to goods in all three countries and even boosts trade by eliminating a variety of taxes on products in all of North America. Because of NAFTA, around 80% of Mexico's exports go to the US and are valued around 291 billion US dollars. Another trade agreement is the Mexico-EU Free Trade Agreement. This trade agreement saw trade grow by 28.9% in its first few years. It allows for a cut on tariffs on industrial goods, and it has been renegotiated several times. Our venture may benefit from these agreements by allowing us to export various countries around the globe with considerably lower tariffs than before, especially if renegotiated trade deals could be worked out. All in all, if we were able to import various parts and or finished goods from other countries, but could pay less tariffs on those items, it'd be worth our investment to do so. It all comes down to comparing the cost of manufacturing all products ourselves or outsourcing to different countries that have more viable options.
That's on Mexican currency is, in Mexico, they use the peso, which is the 9th most traded currency worldwide. Mexico is the world's 12th largest producer on crude oil. Close proximity to the United States, which promotes billions of dollars in economic activity. Mexico also attracts international capital due to high yields. As you can see from this is the bar graph on economic and currency exchange in Mexico to the United States dollar chart.
Go back to that last one. I can talk a little bit more about it really quick. So here we have a 5-year graph illustrating the comparison of the peso against the US dollar. There are many factors that contribute to the high rate of fluctuation in the Mexican peso. Over the last 5 years, the peso has averaged a rate of 0.0618 Mexican peso to US dollar and currently sits at 0.052 Mexican peso to US dollar. All right, you can go on to the next one. I can. So the peso has been known to have high volatility, something we clearly saw in the graph. The value of the peso against the dollar decreased significantly starting in 2015 and continues today. One significant reason for this simple fact that America's economy has been recovering over the last few years. There's been significant changes in the value of the dollar, which will lower the price of the peso relative to the dollar. The peso is also known to be among the highest traded currencies in emerging markets. This has largely impacted the value of the peso.
So we have three products that we thought about selling in Mexico. One of the products is snow cone business in Cancun. Um, Competitive advantage with cream is an option. Low cost business. There's less cultural barrier. Cancun is Americanized. Many syrup providers in Mexico. High demand. Everyone wants something cold, sweet, and cheap on the beach because it's so hot. Flavors will have to be in Spanish. Makeup of each location will have Mexican or Hispanic cultural decor. Possible forward contracts with banks due to inflation functions, less efficiency in manufacturing.
All right, so these are our straw filters. Our next product, the implementation of straw filters. Water contamination is a huge problem facing the people of Mexico, especially in low-income areas. Most of the time, purifying plants around Mexico do not function properly, and the citizens get drinkable water through water purifiers. These Mexican citizens have to buy these water purifiers through private companies at a high cost. There are many water purifier companies in Mexico, including Suez Water Technologies and Solution, Merit Filter Corporation, and Junker Filter that are towards the top of the market. A straw filter removes all waterborne bacteria, and can be used to filter nearly all liquid drinks and bodies of water. We could have full advantage over our water purifying competitors because the largest problems facing these companies is making the product cost efficient and appealing to low-income citizens. The size makes the filter portable and easy to use. We imagine that our product will also appeal to many tourists visiting the country because of its affordability.
And our last product is a water purifier. Don't drink the water. What about the people who already live there? There may be a high level of competition, high demand. It might be necessary in order to not get sick. 12 million people lack drinkable water. May have been technological and cheaper prices than current companies stationed in Mexico. And water is a really important thing, so that's why we want to do a water purifier too. And as you can see, Mexico is a great country to do business in because they have a lot of things that can provide for people.
Mm-hmm. And so we looked at a little bit into to the culture of Mexico, how the money works in Mexico, a little bit just about the government there, and we've looked at these three products and decided that that they would be extremely effective. Of course, starting with our snow cones, and then later with our straw filters and water purifiers. We really wanted to focus on our latter two products on those. What is necessary for the people, and so that's what we decided would be the most effective three business opportunities that we can think of to introduce into Mexico as a group.